If you can see this video right here, then there is a shift that is about to happen in your life where the familiar is becoming more and more mundane. It's becoming more and more something that you realize it's time to let go of. And you're starting to realize that even though there's fear around stepping into the unknown, it is absolutely a requirement for you to experience more magic in your life, for you to attract in that relationship, for you to attract in that new job opportunity, or for you to go full-time with your passion. It will require you to say no to the familiar and to say yes to the unknown. Now, very often, the thing that keeps people blocked is the autopilot mind around the familiar, because we will fight to keep things the same. We will fight to keep things familiar. And another word for familiar that's very similar is familial. So could it be that we are subconsciously fighting to keep our limitations alive because it's the thing that we know instead of the fear of the unknown? When the fear of the unknown may be the actual thing that will bring you happiness, growth, and expansion, but anything can happen, and that's just a little bit scary. This narcissistic, controlling relationship over here may be not what I want, but it's the familiar. And that a lot of times will keep people trapped in that reality. Just today, as I record this video, it is my first day branching off more into the unknown. For so long, there's been this comfort zone, this nest that I've had, where I lived in, I was living in Austin, Texas, and there was also this certain level, not shame, but there was this certain level of belief that, I'd find myself every few years moving. I lived in Vegas, then I moved to Sedona for a year, then I moved from Sedona to Austin. And I was like, Austin's great because it's so centrally located. And what I found is, even though I lived in Austin, I'd always travel certain months of the year just because it gets so hot there. But I would feel a certain level of like, I shouldn't be doing this. I am not decisive. Certain lack of acceptance that I had around. And let me tell you how far this ended up going. This is going to sound like I'm bragging, but I'm not. In trying to find my certain sense of home, like I'm where I need to be, I moved to Austin and I bought a house in a synchronistic type fashion because I was in the right place at the right time at this house party, and I met somebody that sold his house off market, so it was like a better price right in the downtown area. And then I lived there for a while, but then I realized that I wanted to live outside. It was so busy in the city. I want to live outside the city. So then what I did is I bought a house also outside the city. And I ended up renting out the other one. And that house was 40 minutes outside the city on 4 acres with an incredible view. However, then I was too far away. I was 40 minutes away from friends, 40 minutes away from just about everything. So I lived there for a while. But then I was like, this is too far. And then I ended up moving and renting out that house. Now I've got 2 houses being rented out. Then I ended up moving to a house that was a very nice house. It was the last house it's a house that I'm moving out of right now as I move here. I'm here for a couple weeks, then I go back to move for a week, then I come back here. But I just kept moving, and then I would feel like, why do I keep moving? And what I can look back and see I was doing is I was trying to recreate a certain level of safety within my house with a certain level of luxury as well that was kind of excessive, not necessary. But one thing that I can definitely see is there was also a certain amount of lack of awareness, I guess, that one thing I really value, one thing I really like is change. I like change. I like to be in new experiences. And I see why, because last year I came to, for some reason, there's something with California for me. Now, I'm not going to be here full time, and that's okay. Before I'd be like, oh, see, Aaron's not deciding where he lives. Who cares? Mainly, I just don't want to do taxes out of here. Out of California. So I'm going to be here less than 6 months of the year. However, I love the weather here. I love the energy here. And what I realized though was that anytime I come to California, I came to California about a year ago. I lived here for a month and a half and I ran a live event, and it was my favorite live event I've ever ran. And while I was here, there were so many synchronistic opportunities that I got. I was in the right place at the right time. I noticed that it's like almost like anytime I get into the unknown, where there's not that daily routine with the same place that I'm tethered down to, magic happens. And I realized that when I'm stagnating, when I've normalized a certain energy, it's like I think, feel, and act equal to a certain reality. I just continue to experience more of that, and I stagnate for a while. So one thing I have to consciously decide I'm going to do is step into the unknown. So part of me coming to California in this new place that I'm going to be for a few months is that, and then I'm going to see how it goes and then maybe extend it, but is that when I'm here, I'm in the unknown. And one thing that would block me from the unknown was the unpredictability of certain even daily things, for example. So for example, back home in Austin, I have a room that is completely blacked out so that I optimize my sleep. Completely blacked out. So I get like pitch black dark, sleep. I've got red light therapy. I've got a sauna there. I've got all these amenities that I've like relied on to bring me a certain level of safety. However, the way that's trapped me is it traps me from stepping into the unknown, because what happens is in the unknown, that's not predictable. That's not, I literally, last night, I'll be honest, I slept okay, but I'm going to be blacking out I'll be here for a couple months. So I'm going to be blacking out some of the windows so that I can sleep better. I've gotten so used to it. But at the same time, imagine it's like I can only feel safe if this is the parameters. It's like there's less adaptability there. One thing I really love is I love freedom. I love travel. I love new experiences. Yet there's a part of me that really craves safety. There's a part of me that really craves the known. So what I've had to learn to do was to become more adaptable and to still choose the unknown. So I know, and this is the first house, I moved into this house, everything has been smooth. This sounds bougie and weird, but like the water pressure is perfect. The heat, the water gets hot. There's some houses and Airbnbs when you travel a lot where there's like these little things, and it's like I do like having a really hot shower right before I meditate and go to bed. I like a cold shower in the morning. Some houses don't get cold if they get hot. It's interesting. But having all these preferences loosens the ability for me to step into the unknown. Now, in the unknown, and one of the main drivers for stepping into the unknown for me coming to California was bringing in the element of the beach. I live right next to the beach because I was in Costa Rica recently and I fell in love with surfing. And I want to surf every day. Probably after this, I'm going to go surfing. But I've been excited for that. And I'm like, how will that change my daily activity of every day I get up, I film a video, and I go surfing for a couple hours? The negative ions from the beach, breathing in that fresh air. How will the water affect me creativity-wise? How will the new opportunities affect me? Because there's a lot of people that I know that live where I'm at in LA. New opportunities, new experiences around new people, but there is a certain level of familiarity that, if I'm being honest with, I was realizing I was just becoming too comfortable with. Back in Austin, I had my best friend and his family. And every week, I would do the same things. I would work, and then on 1 or 2 days a week, I'd go hang out with him and his family. And it was like clockwork. But I'm realizing I'm not really creating any new experiences. Like anytime I stretch myself, there's just like I found myself waiting. Like I know there's this next level that I'm moving into, but there's also this part of me that's like waiting for something to happen. Wait, just in the same way back in 2017, I was waiting to meet Tony Robbins or some speaker that was going to tell me to go for it. And it never came. It required me to commit to making daily videos on YouTube, and I had to be the one to put myself on. So in a similar way now, I believe that what I'm doing is I'm breaking some of the ties to this kind of like familiar territory that I've had in Austin. And I'm coming here to step into the complete unknown and to become more adaptable, and also to have this energy of really just following my zone of genius of what I've loved doing. And one of the zone of geniuses for me is running live events. And if I can do live events and then get footage from live events that I could put on different, whether it's Instagram or YouTube. There's a way for me to do all of these and it to help everything that I do, but there's an energy state that I'm in when I'm running live events that I get excited about. There's an energy state when I'm surfing that feels really good, when I'm at the beach, when I'm going to like even certain grocery stores here. I know it sounds stupid. So one of the reasons I'm sharing this with you is follow that thread of excitement. Even if there's a little anxiety around that excitement, even if that excitement is something that's not familiar, it's time to follow the thread and to familiarize excitement. To familiarize your zone of genius, doing what you love. I think sometimes we feel we don't deserve what we love. Last night I had a very interesting dream. I write down my dreams every night from the night before. I had a dream last night of a core story that continues coming up for me. Dreams are a very powerful metaphor for different stories that we're working throughout our psyche. Carl Jung talks about this, other teachers. I had a dream last night. I had a lot of surfing dreams recently. I had a dream last night that I was at this cool place and I was going to buy this beginner surfboard. And I had an agreement that someone was going to sell me this really cool beginner surfboard. And it was like the only one at the store. I just had to go get the money. So I went around and I went to go get the money. And then I came back and they decided they weren't going to sell me that surfboard. And I'm like, why? Why aren't you going to sell me the surfboard? You said you would. And I thought the dude was messing with me. I thought he was I have a sarcastic, dry sense of humor. So he was using that kind of, he's like, no, I'm not selling it to you. I'm like, what? It's right there. No, we're not selling it. There was like, it just wasn't fair. And right towards the end of the dream, I realized that someone from my past was there that represents kind of like my ex-stepmom energy. And that person told them something about me that wasn't true so that they wouldn't sell it to me. And it was this interesting, but I was fighting for it. I was like, this isn't fair. This is messed up. And in an interesting way, there were these cool waves coming in too. It was like this abstract world where it wasn't just on a beach, but there was like the store, but then there were these waves coming in. Kind of hard to explain. But I woke up feeling this energy and this emotion like, this isn't fair. And that was something for me to look at. But I was fighting for it. I think if I wasn't fighting for it, I was being passive, that would have been even more of a challenge. There's an acceptance, okay. Fighting sometimes is like a realization of what you want. So sometimes we have these payoffs because we want to be right about reality. And there's this belief that life's not fair and I don't deserve the surfboard, which is a metaphor for passion, excitement. There's a certain part of me that knows that when I do live events, there's this different part of me that gets brought out that I don't even really understand, almost for the benefit of the space and all the people there. And when I'm in it, it's very high feeling. But I think there's a part of me that feels like I don't deserve it. Something wrong with me. And that blocks me from actually experiencing more of it, of just doing it more. So become aware of what your core stories are that are keeping you in the familiar. For me, there's this common story, and I've had other dreams like this too that are always reflecting this back. I remember one time I was in a 7-Eleven, going towards the front, and someone just cut in front of me. That wasn't fair. Sounds stupid, I know, but it's constant. And then if you think about my childhood from 7 to 17, things weren't fair. It was an energy of constantly have to fight to feel worthy, not even to feel worthy, but it was almost like instead of love and connection, there was this ugly substance, I always say this, the ugly cousin substitute of validation and approval, because I had to get the validation and approval of my dad and my ex-stepmom in order to just get by. But having to sneak food to get enough food to eat, there's a certain deprivation of food. Imagine you're poor and there's no food. That's one energy. But imagine there is the food and you're just not allowed to have it. You see, there's like an inner child part of me that's like, that's not fair. And what I've had to do is become present with that inner child part of me. To see that inner child part of me and to go, yeah, it's not fair and it's not your fault. Because if you think it's your fault, you think you're flawed and you think you don't deserve something. So maybe the key to you stepping into the unknown is you nurturing that inner child part of you that feels scared, that feels not seen or heard, that feels like it's familiarized toxic dynamics. And maybe as you become more soothing to this inner child part of you, you will find yourself feeling more confident within yourself. So one thing I'm consciously choosing, and you watching this video right now, this is something you can consciously choose. Consciously choose to step into the unknown. Consciously choose yourself. Choose to do something you're passionate about. Choose to do something that lets you shine. And understand that that's where all magic happens. If you think, feel, and act equal to the same reality over and over again, if you have the same routine every day, if you have the perfect blacked out drapes, you have the red light therapy, you go sit in the sun for 10 minutes every morning, you do all of these things, you can feel safe. However, what if all magic happens on the other side of that? I remember back in 2017 when I was first getting on YouTube, I had the opportunity to go to this life transformation place in Costa Rica. What was interesting about that is I almost didn't go. And you're going to laugh at me if I tell you the reason why. I was so focused on diet and alkaline water. I literally was not going to go to Costa Rica because I called the resort center and I said, do you guys have alkaline water? And they said, no, we have reverse osmosis. And I was like, huh. I was like trying to find ways of putting all this alkaline water inside this luggage. I know this sounds crazy, by the way, but I was like so strict that alkaline water equaled high vibration. It's so stupid. But then I went, you want to know what happened? I got a calcified pineal gland and couldn't remember my dreams for 3 weeks. Just kidding. None of that happened. It was fine. It was all in my head. I went, had the reverse osmosis water, and I was fine. Now I go to Costa Rica a few times a year. I don't even think I had reverse osmosis water. It's this regular water. A lot of people, you could drink water out of the sink here in Costa Rica. It's not that good. But unless you're on like a well or like some type of property, but not in the city at least. But nonetheless, it's all in your head. Maybe the thing that's blocking you is all in your head. You're afraid if you let go of that person. You're afraid if you say no to this old job. Maybe you're afraid if you say no to certain toxic dynamics. You set boundaries with your friends. It's all in your head that it's going to go bad. It's all the fear is just you trying to talk yourself out of stepping into the unknown. So let this video here be an excuse, a reason to step into the unknown. That it is a necessary component of you experiencing something new in your life. And understand that the degree to which you can embrace the unknown is the degree to which you will embrace magic in your life. Now, if you want a step-by-step process that will show you how to create identity-level transformation and raise your vibration to the next level, I have a $1,000 course for free called High Vibe 101 in my free community called High Vibe Tribe. I'll go ahead and link it below. And also, if you want to learn more about the energy, the vibration of really elevating your dominant vibration permanently, I have one of the most popular meditations that I have. You can read the comments to see what's possible. Listen to this meditation for 21 days and watch what happens.
This meditation will change your dominant vibration